Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for, I can't even believe it, our fifth week of session spotlights for Convergence 2026. This is an opportunity for you to get to know our upcoming leaders, learn about their sessions, and give you a better idea of what you would like to register for during the conference. Today, we will be hearing from Marilyn Romatka, Susan Lazear, Jenny Schu, Deborah Held, and Tina Linville. General registration is finally here. You guys can all head online or give us a call to sign up for classes, tours, all of the goodies. As a reminder, Convergence 2026 will be taking place in New Orleans, Louisiana from August 12th through the 16th. You can find a digital copy of the registration booklet online. There you'll see all kinds of information about the different sessions and events taking place, including the marketplace, exhibits, fashion show, keynote speaker, tours, and more. We will be hosting over 100 sessions, ranging from 90-minute seminars to 3-day workshops. As we learn more about a few of these sessions today, please put any questions that you have in the Q&A section. This is a great opportunity to get answers directly from the instructors. First up today, we are going to welcome Marilyn Romatka, who's going to be talking about card trick, the magic of tablet weaving.
Thank you so much, Erica, and hi to everybody that has had me in conferences past. Hello again. Those of you that don't know me, let me introduce myself just quickly. My name is Marilyn Romatka, and my focus is folk art. So I teach a number of techniques, from painting techniques to weaving techniques to ethnic beadwork. The common thread in all of the things I teach being that they're being practiced somewhere in the world as a true folk craft. The things that I teach have stood the test of time. So I do have the best job in the world. I travel to far-flung countries and come back to the US to teach enthusiastic students. And today I am going to be talking about the lecture class that I am going to be doing on tablet weaving, also known as card weaving. Let me bring it up here. Card trick, the magic of tablet weaving. So what is this class? Is this a hands-on class? No, it is not. This is a lecture class. What I've done is I have talked to many, many people who do tablet weaving and gotten good pictures of what they do. And I've put together this lecture demonstration class, which will show you what it's all about and give you an overview of what's happening with tablet weaving, what's possible with tablet weaving. Those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, card weaving or tablet weaving uses pieces of cardboard, square, with holes put in very, very clever places. And then as a deck together with threads, we use this as a shedding device, which gives us the chance to weave without a loom. Let that sink in. So, as I say, we're going to see a lot of eye candy in this lecture about what is possible with tablet weaving, where you can go with tablet weaving, and possibly if you're just beginning thinking about learning to tablet weave, you'll get a wide view of what's possible at the very beginning of your career and know where you can head with it. Stacy, by the way, is teaching at Convergence. Look for her classes. Yes, do. So what I do in this lecture is try to help people understand this is not over, under weaving. This is totally different. This is a structure that involves capturing twist in threads, which obviously gives pixels on the top of the band that are at a slant most of the time. We'll cover basic theory, but also practicality. I'll have a demonstration. Let me play this for you a little bit. The whole trick is we want you to understand why the threads are doing what they do.
Pass. And you see there's absolutely no resistance to moving forward 1/4 turn. And because half of the threads moved from the bottom of the shed to the top, or the top of the shed to the bottom, I now have a new shed. And that new shed allows me to take another pass of weft and place it in the shed before going forward another 1/4 turn.
So we talk about how to support a tablet weaving warp. A lot of people are very into using an inkle loom to support the warp, but you don't need an inkle loom. In fact, you can use the loom you have. This is my 40-inch wide Glamocra supporting a warp that is 1.5 inches wide, because I was breaking up my deck into 10 little decklets and I craved stability, and so I tied it onto my Glamocra. We'll talk about some of the challenges that are specific to tablet weaving, but also the opportunities that tablet weaving allows you, because this cloth does not behave like normal cloth. It is made with twist. We'll talk about how threads go into the deck. And this is a threading draft, and how that then can predict what's going to come out in the band. And we'll talk about how we're able to anticipate how it's going to behave differently depending on how we manipulate the deck once we're weaving. We'll touch on the history of tablet weaving. This technique actually goes back to the Iron Age. This is old stuff. And it's also being used now in many places in the world. Everybody's been tablet weaving. This is from Scandinavia, the Caucasus. This is from Myanmar. This is from Iceland. This is from Nepal, Bhutan, and this is from Iran. And that's done in wool. This is Uzbekistan. And I will also go over a number of different techniques. Now, when we're doing floor loom weaving, we've got plain weave, we've got twill, we've got overshot. We also have different techniques in tablet weaving, and I'll go over each of those, show you the threading draft for each of those. And by that point in the lecture, hopefully you will understand how the threading draft is going to influence what comes out in the band. This is 4x4. This is threaded in design. These, I'm just mentioning a few. There are more in the lecture. Obviously, I have more time. Brocade, 3-1 broken twill, with which you can make drop-dead gorgeous bands. Sulawesi, as I said, Stacy's teaching this at Convergence, heads up. We'll talk about some of the things that you can do with tablet weaving that you cannot do with a shaft loom, because we are not restricted to 2 dimensions with tablet weaving. And we'll spend quite a bit of time at the end talking about ways to use our bands, because everybody uses narrow textiles for lots of different things, but there may be a few things that you haven't thought of. These are not just dog leashes. And they don't need to be narrow either. You can weave something wide with tablets. You just need more tablets. An advantage that we have as band weavers is we can take what we've woven and use it as trim on clothing, so that we can take our work and put it right under people's noses. I think that's so cool. So I hope with this lecture demonstration to get people excited, to get people informed about tablet weaving. I will also have with me 2 tables full of eye candy for you to fondle and drool over and photograph. So I'm really excited about tablet weaving in general, and I hope to see you in New Orleans.
That giant demo is so fun. I love that you're setting that up for folks to see.
Well, yeah, I have to have my large classroom manipulatives, right?
Well, and this looks like such a great introduction for somebody who's maybe curious about other weaving options and what they can get into before they actually even try the hands-on. And I
Or
also
even
love
informed tablet weavers that already are in, that they want to see, they just want to be inspired.
more
It's
options.
90 minutes of good pictures of good tablet weaving. It's going to be a hoot.
Absolutely. And I want to mention we've got a comment here that came in that it says this looks like a fascinating presentation, even if you're not interested in actually doing the tablet weaving. So just an inspiring class to take. So thank you so much for sharing more about this class. I'm very excited for you and for everybody that's going to be able to stop in and take this. Again, that was Marilyn Romatka going over the card trick, The Magic of Tablet Weaving, which is a 90-minute seminar taking place on Saturday, August 15th. Up next, we've got Susan Lazear, who's going to be going over Road Trip, Intro to Digital Print Design.
Okay, well, hi everyone. We're going from the Iron Age to the computer age, so it's quite a jump in techniques. But anyhow, I will begin by sharing my screen and just get in here and then minimize this, and away we go. Okay, so I'm teaching Intro to Digital Print Design, and this is an hour and a half seminar on Saturday afternoon. So a little my background, I am creative director at Cochineal Design Studio. Currently, I spent most of my professional career as a college professor in the field of fashion and very involved in computer graphics and digital design for fashion. And I do a lot of wearable art. So just as a general background, there are two methods of printing on fabric. One is called sublimation, and the other is inkjet printing. So this is direct printing, inkjet, where basically this is like your home printer, but just really, really big. And it's printing directly onto fabric with special inks. And then this fabric will be heat set and washed, etc. later. So that's direct printing, and it can be done on silk, on cottons, etc. The other method of very common printing is known as sublimation. And this is when they actually print directly onto paper and with special inks and special paper. And then they run the paper against the fabric through heated rollers. And the image goes from a solid to a gas to a solid, which is what sublimation is. And it ends up on the fabric. Now, this is typically done on synthetics and primarily polyester. So it's really easy to find printers that do digital printing because it's quite simple, it's quite fast. It's not as easy to find companies who print on a broad range of silks and cottons, although they can be found, but it will be more expensive just because of the processing time. So anyhow, we're going to talk about the design process, and I will go through various programs. There's more than this, but Photoshop and Photoshop Elements, which is a very reasonable version of Photoshop versus the large full format. And also affordable and also probably easier to learn, but it has all the same things that we need for doing print design or design. And then Adobe Illustrator, which is a different kind of program, more vector-based, can also be used. There are some free online tools where you can design online, and then there's some software for tablets, and I'll talk about various programs and why they're different from each other. I will discuss two approaches to designing your own fabrics. You're either going to do all over repeat, which means you start developing a motif and then you build a repeat pattern, and you can use various paint style programs. Well, you can use also vector programs for this as well. And I will do demos. So I will demonstrate, in Photoshop. I will demonstrate in Photoshop Elements, and I will demonstrate in Illustrator just so that you can see what's involved in this. And so that is the first type. And then the second type of design, and this one is what I like to do the most, is engineered design. And what I mean by that is you get a PDF pattern, clothing pattern, full scale. You take it into Photoshop, let's just say, and you can lay a photograph into that garment, and then engineer exactly how you want the photo to lay in place. and then build your garment that way. So now we're coming back. This is an example of an all over repeat. These are the squiggles in the road on the way into the development where I live in Southern California. And they intrigue me constantly. So of course I'm taking a photo at this moment as I'm driving, and then I isolated the squiggles by taking the photo probably into Photoshop and just pulling them out, and then from there I could build the print. So this was the print that I built. My color palette came from a Pantone app that I had on my phone where I could take a photograph and then it breaks it down into however many colors I say that I want. And those were the colors that I used for the background and the foreground. And so there is a repeat happening here in the fabric. So you can print yardage, multiple yards of the same design. This is another one. And this, I was just going for a retro 50s look. I usually start by having a theme in my mind, and then I pick a palette and get my colors lined up in my paint program. And all I did with this one was just build rectangles. This one was done in Adobe Illustrator, just building rectangles, some hollow, some solid, and arranging them into a pattern. And mostly, like Illustrator does all the work of doing the repeat. You just have to decide how big you want it to be, etc. Engineered design, these are examples of that. And so this is when, as I said, you are laying imagery into a defined shape. So kind of think of it like making a banner. So I have obviously software. So this is Garment Designer. This is the program that I design for making patterns. So you can build your pattern and then go out as a full-scale PDF and then load those PDF images into Photoshop. And now you have your pattern laying on the screen. So here's an example where I had that pattern. I have photos that I took at the Grand Canyon. And then I laid them into each of the pattern pieces, the front, the back. I've got 2 sleeves. And then because there's still extra space, I always just make strips of pattern. Maybe I'll use this for the neckband, but I like to fill up my space. So this is the file that I actually send to Spoonflower. And Spoonflower is the company I use the most in the United States. And then this is how it comes back. So it is ready to cut like a cookie cutter. So, it's already the size I want. And it's including seam allowances all the way out to the edge. And I just cut out the shape and sew up the pattern. And so this was the final garment. So it's a lot of fun. If you do art or you love photography, you can make such unique and interesting garments. Here I'm showing you the process of uploading to Spoonflower. And these were just a series of all over repeats that I was doing with my students for a project. And so you upload your design and you tell them which repeat, but usually I stick with basic because I've already worked out my repeat. And you pick which fabric you want. They will tell you somewhere on their site how many printable inches you have for that on the width of the fabric. You can order sample books so that you can see the fabrics in advance, so that you can see what signature petal cotton looks like. And then you upload, pay the money, and wait a week or 2, and the fabric comes back in the mail. So it's pretty cool. So I will have a handout for you. There's no prerequisites. This is just, I would say, information gathering for those of you who like to work on a computer or a tablet. That's all you really need for this. Just pencil and paper to take notes. And when you leave, you should have an understanding of the 2 types of textile printing, and then the approaches to designing motif repeats versus engineered design. As you'll have a general idea of how to work with design software. I will have demoed it 2 or 3 times. And then you'll understand the process of uploading a design to a textile printer such as Spoonflower. And there are other ones, and I will have a resource list for you as well. So here's my contacts if you need to get hold of me. And that will be there. I'll stop sharing. I'll just show you my latest garment because this is going to be an exhibit here in Italy in 2 weeks. It's exhibit honoring women in violence, stop the violence. So I took handprints of my friends and the silhouettes of other friends, and then a big stop on the bottom. I'm sorry, I can't get further back, but you can get the idea. So I was able to lay that in a very engineered way and then send it off to an Italian printer. Have first time, so I was a little nervous, but it came back okay. So that's as much as I have for today.
Fantastic. This is going to be such a great opportunity to like walk through this process with somebody who has your experience and like get a grasp on how to even start. I feel like this is one of those things where people maybe think about it, but they just don't even know where to begin.
It's true. It's fun, yeah. And just seeing it, yeah, can help.
Oh, we just had a fun comment come in too that this could be an interesting process to make the material for like the lining of a jacket, even if you have hand woven on the outside. You could maybe mix this stuff together.
You could.
Very,
Absolutely.
very cool. Well, thank you so much for giving us a deeper dive into this lecture. Again, that was Susan Lazear talking about Road Trip Intro to Digital Print Design, which is a 90-minute seminar taking place on Saturday, August 15th. Up next, we have Jenny Schu, who's going to be going over Finish and Exhibit That Piece.
Hey there, I'm Jenny Schu, and yeah, we're talking about Finish and Exhibit That Piece today, which has always been really well received, both when I've done it on Zoom and in person. I like doing it in person a lot more because I can hand out samples and stuff. So this class is for everyone. I just pulled this off my wall. It's just a sample piece I did in a class with Rebecca Mezoff. I have 3 of these and I just mounted them. So if you're just taking classes and doing samples and stuff, ideas and ways of how to display those even just around your home. But I am a professional artist. I teach, I dabble in a lot of things. My background is both prepping for exhibit and photographing and everything, right up to I've hung tons, probably hundreds of shows at this point in my life. I was part of an artist cooperative gallery that we did put up a show every 2 months or so for a number of years with exhibits, guilds. I also have a lot of background in retail. So following other people's direction on how to hang things, I've learned a lot for like window displays and stuff. And then this presentation has a little bit of everything in it. I'll start my short, finish and exhibit this piece. Need to go to screen share, sorry. I get nervous doing these two. Go from beginning. So this class, there we go, is Saturday, August 15th in the morning. There's no materials fees. You can just come hang out and we'll be talking about other options other than just trying to figure out how to frame something or stick it on a dowel, which I still do use dowels, but we'll discuss that further in class. I'm kind of talking about how to get from here where I've made something and that process of how to finish it. So we all love the wheat process of weaving, but I have a piece behind me that's been off the loom since spring because I've been trying to problem solve, what I'm doing to finish it. Um, I have something new I want to work with, and I haven't gotten to it yet. So we put this off, including myself. But to here, so on the left is an exhibit it was a part of a handful of fiber artists with me and my husband. And then I did a commission piece for a church last year, and that's hanging in their main entryway. And a lot of my work, I end up talking about this because a lot of my work is double weave pickup and you can see it from both sides. So I like to hang it off of the wall, which is a huge issue for a lot of exhibits and galleries. And here's for the home. I took this picture right before I started while I was putting my PowerPoint together this morning. So this is one of my gallery walls that I'm working on in my living room. And so there's so many different ways to display fiber work. And we'll talk about how important it is to give options to the exhibition or wherever you're going to be sending your work. And we're going to talk about different tools to make it all easier. I have one specific tool that I wish I had bought the minute I moved into an apartment and away from art school when I didn't have any power tools accessible to me. Right until my little collection of what I have that's really super basic and easy to use. One of my good friends tells me if you can use a mixing or a hand mixer, then you can use a drill. So, and then we'll talk about photographing for promotion and submitting to exhibits. So much is submitted digitally now that it's still really important. It seems easier, but it's getting the color right and all that is really, really important. And this is like the natural light that I have in my stairwell here. So I've got some weird setups around my house to do this. And yep, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under Jenny Schu, Jenny Schu 4, Jenny Schu B, or feel free to email me questions about this class. And that's it.
Awesome. I love how many areas you're touching on here, that go into just finishing the piece, but even exhibiting. And it sounds like you're talking about like photography and like finishing the piece. Are there going to be other like tips for applying to shows as well, like finding those kinds of exhibits for the pieces?
We can discuss that. Yeah, I can add that to my new PowerPoint. This PowerPoint changes every time I do it because there's new ideas that have come up. So I'll write that down right now.
Well, fantastic. I'm so excited about this. Exhibitions can be so much fun, so I think it's great that we're gonna have this opportunity for folks to learn more about how to get those pieces ready to display. So thank you so much again for going over that some more. That was Jenny Schu talking about Finish and Exhibit That Piece, a 90-minute seminar taking place on Saturday, August 15th. Up next, we have Debbie Held, who's going to be talking about blending boards going against the grain.
Hi, everyone. I am here. I am here. It always takes me a minute to get over here. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Erica, thanks for hosting. As always, I'm here again with another class. I'm Debbie Held. I am talking today about my blending boards going against the grain class. It's on Saturday, and it is a full day interactive class. A little about myself. I'm Debbie Held. I'm a former business journalist turned spinning educator. I write about spinning and textiles related subjects for Spinoff, Ply, Sweet Georgia Yarns, Little Looms, Farm and Fiber Knits, and more. And I teach spinning globally. I teach online, and I've been fortunate to go to some extremely great places. I'm very excited about Convergence. This is my second Convergence, and yeah, it's just such a great educational experience for everyone. Also, I wrote this down for y'all. My book, The Spinner's Blending Board Bible, is behind me here. It was released in April of this past year. And something we're noticing is how interested people are in learning more about the blending board and ways to approach it, because to me, truly, really, it is my go-to blending tool, my fiber prep tool, my color prep tool. It's always what I pick up when I need to work with fiber, no matter what kind of fiber. I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but this is my favorite class. I call it going against the grain because while I was writing the book, I really was intrigued by the more unique ways we could approach the actual grain, with up and down, diagonal, across, more randomly, etc. The grain of the carding cloth, its teeth, and how it works. All of this is various ways of the technique and your approach toward using it. So this is not your how to use a blending board class, although of course I will touch upon best practices in using a blending board, but it's a more atypical thought and techniques approach to make the blending board work in more woolen or lofty ways, or a more worsted compressed manner, depending on the results you want to play with or the results you want to have in your finished yarn for your finished project. So whether that's a fun thing you want to approach, or whether that's a real plan, an intuitive plan you want to learn to do better. So some of the things we will learn are how I lost my place. Replicating a comb top, dizzing a sliver from the board in a more woolen versus more worsted manner, carded clouds, that's what I was trying to say before, and replicating rollags that look like you used a hand carder and they're all truly fluffy instead of the denser rolled up versions we're more used to seeing when a person rolls off a blending board. And now, Erica, warning, I am going to share my slideshow here. So let's see, let me get out of this. I might need help from Erica. Let's see. Oh, share.
It is coming up.
Ah, thank you. Okay,
There
let me
you
start
go.
it back. Oh, start it over. Thanks for your patience. Okay. Here we go.
And then you just want to hit that slideshow button up at the upper right.
Slideshow button.
There you go.
Should I do it?
Yep.
I am screen sharing. Yay. Okay. These,
Oh.
by the way, these are not your,
Debbie,
yes.
just click that slideshow button. It didn't actually click. You were over it, but over to the
Right
right.
here? Well, you can't see me, can you?
Nope, you want to go to
Right.
the right where it says slideshow, kind of upper right side of
Right
the
here.
screen next to the share button. It's loading.
It's loading. Thank you.
There we go. All right, you're all set now.
Yay. Okay, thank you very, very much. Blending boards going against the grain. It's a full day class on Saturday. Oh, and what I was saying before I messed that up was these are examples of some of what we'll be covering, but this is not the exact fiber you will be receiving. This is just an example. So here you can see the directional. I did a directional loading of the blending board, very haphazard, and I kept loading and pulling off that bat, or what this turns out to be a carded cloud actually. But you can see already just the insane loft in that prepared fiber versus a much more parallel, more aligned fiber, which has to do with the way it's placed on the blending board, the type of fiber I used, and then the manner in which I diz it off the board. So you can see very different results. Here on the left is, well, an example of a very fluffy rollag and a more densely, slightly more densely rolled one from the blending board. But you can see they are comparable, and we will work with ways to make your rollags look like these. On the right, I have a diz fiber that's white versus one that's more, again, haphazard, which is really, my style is very, very arbitrary. in terms of how I approach a blending board. I love the loft that you can see below, but I also, I want to be able sometimes to make a yarn with more sheen and that is more, that will wear better in a certain project. Here again, this is looks like we're jizzing off the board, and we are, but there's a special way that I approach it so that we replicate a true comb top. And you can see when I spun up my little sample, it's again a nice compressed worsted yarn that will wear well in whatever I decide to do with it. Conversely, here is a fluffier bat, and I did more of an art yarn. It's a spiral ply using leftover silk I had spun. And on the right here, the green this is all luxury fibers, all blended together beautifully, and somewhere in between. It's lofty, but it's also somewhat parallel in the alignment of the fiber. This is even more aligned in the way I dizzed and approached this loading of the blending board and the yarn I spun off of it. Again, a beautiful loft, a little loft though, which we have from carding the fiber, of course. And if you'll work your way all the way to the right, that orange skein or the more orange skein is the one that you see on the left here in the before picture. And you can see it. I played with adding a longer stapled fiber here, and you can see, although I can use these yarns together, I did get a more aligned, more worsted manner result. And one of my very, very favorite things to do is to card a cloud, which I mentioned before, using dye blocks. Again, this is not necessarily the colors we will have, but I carded a cloud, and that is when the fibers are completely jumbled and just going every which way. And then I played with my ply structure here for this result. I think that is my last slide. Yes. So now I will stop sharing and come back. Okay. That was easier than Erica. Am I good?
You are.
Okay, thank you. All right. So prerequisites to class, not many, come with a great energy to learn, but we will be spinning in the afternoon at some point. So usually definitely the last hour of class, sometimes more. And you should just be able to spin a stable singles yarn. So if you're not aware of lots of ply structures, that's okay. But just come prepared to have fun and be able to spin, again, a stable singles yarn. You should bring your wheel or e-spinner or spindles. I'm not concerned with what you bring. Just make sure it is a working spinning tool that you can use. Bring your blending board and any accessories it came with, dowel or dowels, brushes, a diz and a threader. And there is I think it's $25 materials fee. I am generous with the fiber. You will leave with tons of fiber and preparations and ideas, hopefully, for the way you look at your blending board, your perspective on it, so that you can put it to use too for all sorts of maybe unexpected ways to dig in and prepare fiber for the yarn you want to spin.
Fantastic. Well,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for talking more about this class. I love
Thanks,
it. So it's fun
Erica.
to be able to blend and also spin and walk away with some creative yarn. So that was great. That was Debbie Held talking about blending boards going against the grain, a one-day workshop taking place on Saturday, August 15th. And last but not least for today, we've got Tina Linville, who's going to be talking about crafting clarity, writing art statements.
Hi, I'm Tina, and let me share my screen. Okay. So hi everyone, thanks for having me. I'm Tina Linville, and I'm really excited to share a little bit about my upcoming Convergence session, Crafting Clarity, Writing Art Statements. I know for many of us, writing can sometimes feel like pulling teeth. It's when your hands are used to working with fiber instead of words, it can be a big challenge. And this session is designed to hopefully make that process a little bit less intimidating and maybe even fun. A little bit about me. This is me with my students. I've been teaching art and fiber for over 10 years. I've taught students in the community and through higher education, students as young as 16 to 75. So I am really excited to work with anyone interested on that writing part of your work. So during the past 3 years, I've been heading the fiber concentration in the art and art history department at Baylor University. This is me and my students this semester. They're getting introduced to the pickup stick. My classes always include writing, things like art statements. So this session kind of grows out of my work that I do every day with emerging artists. And in addition to my work in the classroom, I also have a curator's perspective. I ran a gallery out of my studio for several years and curated more than 25 exhibitions. So I read a lot of statements. I've seen a lot of what works and have that perspective to bring to the conversation around writing about our work as fiber artists and designers. And in addition to my work in the classroom and from a gallery perspective, I'm also a maker and make work that's sometimes hard to categorize. Is it sculpture? Is it figurative sometimes? Is it fiber? You know, where and how does this work live? And from that background of working in a lot of different contexts, I've really grown confident in thinking about and viewing writing as an important aspect of my making practice. So let's see. So why statements matter. So art statements can be tricky because as fiber artists, we have so much to communicate. From technique and material to history and personal meaning, as well as the challenges that even we saw in earlier presenters today. Schu talking about presentation. The same weaving can become a garment or hang on the wall or become a sculpture. So all of those choices in presentation really affect the context in which our work exists. So as artists, we get to use our statements to have a say and agency in where and how we want our work to be understood. I think of the creative process of writing less about meeting a standard, but more about understanding what I do. And that's the spirit about this session. Crafting clarity is about treating language as another material that we can experiment with, and a place to have agency and inform the ways that we want the work to be seen in the world. So for what to expect, we're not going to leave my session with a finished art statement. This is more about me showing examples, looking at some of the language that I think offers really a good clarity. We're gonna do workshop type things in the session. We'll work through short guided prompts to help you generate language that feels true to your practice. It's going to be, you'll leave with a set of raw materials, notes, reflections, and keywords to build from, not a polished statement. And this session is open to anyone who makes with fiber. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. You are welcome. This will be a safe space to explore thinking about and dealing with the challenge of words and the creative work that we make. You don't need to feel confident. You just need to be curious about your own work and willing to explore language as a creative material. if you've ever looked at a blank page and thought, I don't know what to do, I hope that this session will just give you a place to start. And I'm working on, this is a art statement zine that I make for my students. So I will be adapting this zine and make a special just for Convergence attendees zine that will kind of summarize some of the key points from the conversation, and provide some writing prompts and excerpts and spaces for reflection. So there'll be this handout that I will make for each of you that are able to attend. Part inspiration, part tool, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So my hope is, and my goal is that you'll walk away from crafting clarity with tools, prompts, and maybe some more confidence about approaching your statement in a way that fits your voice. We'll build a space that's supportive, experimental, and maybe a little bit playful, because writing about art doesn't have to be stiff or scary. If you're ready to experiment with how words can capture your fiber practice, I'd love to hang out with you and talk about it together. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing more about this seminar. I do have a question for you here. I know you said folks are not going to leave with finished statements, but that there are going to be kind of prompts and workshops to work through. Would it be helpful if people maybe just had pictures to work off of their work as they're working through these prompts, just like a visual aid to assist them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just having our phones with our Instagram, or if we have like any kind of images on our phones, yes, I think that would be a really wonderful thing to have, to help, because we'll work in little groups. And that way, maybe sometimes having someone else write about your work can be a big helper in figuring out what you're doing, like having a stranger. So will do a little bit of that kind of brainstorming in groups. So that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Great. And if somebody is maybe already working on some statements, but they aren't confident and they're interested in taking this class, could they bring some statements that maybe they're already kind of working with and use that as a starting point for this session?
Yes, sure. I think bringing drafts of language, that can be part of the process, though it's not required and you do not have to bring a statement. It's meant to be kind of a brainstorming session, really specific to the qualities and characteristics of what it means to make with fiber. So starting with some language already is helpful.
Great. We love a good pre-write.
Yeah, we'll take whatever we have.
One last question that came in. Are you going to touch at all about using AI to help with artist statements?
Yes, I am. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't do a little bit of AI, though the focus is not going to be AI, but AI can be a really helpful tool for writing. But in the editing and in the process and tone, things like tone, it's really helpful. But yes, I will address AI. It's just part of our lives now.
Yeah, at this point it is. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for talking more about this seminar. Again, that was Tina Linville talking about crafting clarity, writing art statements, which is a 90-minute seminar taking place on Saturday, August 15th. You can find more information on our website, weavespindye.org. You can either head under that Convergence tab and go to Sessions and Leaders to find more information, or the schedule and register to sign up for classes.
Eric, I'm going to pop in here and just add, if you are having a difficult time deciding which class to take, because there are so many, 139 session offerings. We developed a worksheet for you, and we've seen where a few of you have already posted it on social media that you're using it, but you can download this worksheet from our website. It has a page for each day of the conference, and everything that we're offering is added to that page. So here you see the first page, which is the pre-conference. That's when everybody will be arriving, and we have our Mardi Gras tour. We'll have small expressions available. And then on Wednesday, our classes start. So here we have every class broken down by the length and the time on the left-hand column here. So if you are taking a multi-day session, like perhaps one of these 3-day or 2-day workshops, you'll want to keep in mind that when you go to the next spreadsheet, it is listed there as a reminder. It's just in gray, so that you know if you have one of these classes, then you're not able to take any of these. And we've also added things like a reminder to eat. You got to have your lunch, marketplace, convergence exhibits, and even to volunteer. So all of it is listed. Every class session is on each of these worksheets, as well as all the extracurricular opportunities. We do encourage you to make sure that you make time for the marketplace and exhibits. Some of you, 1 hour in the exhibits is enough, but we know many of you like to spend 4 or 5 hours looking at the exhibits. And I would strongly encourage you that if you are one of those who likes to spend time in the exhibits, volunteer to do exhibit security. All you're doing is making sure that people don't touch, but that gives you plenty of time in the exhibits to look at the artwork and to immerse yourself in that experience. Also, keep in mind the marketplace. We have 2 hours where the marketplace is open in the evening, but otherwise it's all open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. starting Thursday through Sunday. And 2 hours will not be enough to go through every vendor and to test the equipment, to touch the yarn, and to see all the things that they have to offer. So make sure you plan time besides those 2 hours on Friday evening to go to the marketplace. So we have little reminders here, like I said, to make sure that you are thinking about what you want to do at each time slot. It is a full conference. Remember to schedule some downtime.
Oh, I love a good visual aid. Thank you for sharing more about that worksheet. It's beautiful. We are going to be offering these live session spotlights every weekday here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time until mid-November, and the recordings will be available on HGA's YouTube channel. So if you're interested in any other classes, please join us, and we look forward to seeing you there.